something that we call a punty, P-U-N-T-Y. He sticks that right on center, right on the bottom. And this is a precarious connection because it's designed to be temporary. You know, we want to release this punty glass later on. And so we don't want it to fuse. We don't want it to come on so hot that it permanently adheres to the bottom. But we don't want it to, so we can't have it be too hot, but we definitely can't have it be too cold. If it's too precarious a connection with the weight of that great big vase, it could actually break off early. So it's got to be hot enough that it sticks for the duration of the creation of this vase. So he stuck that in place there. Right now he's blowing on it just through a straw, cooling up that connection point, looking to see that he has the right amount of stability. Dane is dripping water on the constriction line. That water thermally shocks the glass, kind of like putting room temperature soda over ice cubes, how they break apart from that sudden temperature change. We're creating that phenomenon right there, where the glass is cinched down nice and tight. And so if all goes well, we'll be able to crack this free from the blowpipe, and George will pour it on his steel. What do you think? The crowd goes wild. That was beautifully done. And I'm excited because so many things could have gone wrong, right? If George didn't have just that perfect temperature connection, if it wasn't hot enough when they tapped the blowpipe and it broke free along that constriction line, if the punty's too cold, it will also break free from the punty. The whole piece of glass can drop on the floor in between. You actually saw that happen at a half glass show a couple weeks ago. If George hadn't kept the overall temperature of his vase nice and hot, above that 1,000-degree danger zone, instead of the crack being perfect around that little constriction line, it could have traveled down into the body of our vessel, and we'd have a really sad design change. So I've been blowing glass 12 years. I am happy every single time I see that transition go well. So where it broke away from the steel, that was cold glass. Rubber glass, lower cold, 1,000 degrees. Well, now we want to stretch the opening. We want to transform it into whatever design George has in his mind. So we got to reintroduce that heat, and it's probably a 700 or 800 degree temperature climb right now. So he's taking his time there. You can see he mostly backs the piece of glass out of the furnace. Just the top half, kind of the shoulder of our vase or bubble is inside that reheating chamber. But then periodically the whole piece goes deep inside to make sure that the bottom doesn't get too cold. Now it's really nice for us. When George comes out of that furnace, we can see the glow, right? We can see that that heat is reintroduced. Now where George was standing, he can't see the TV monitors, and he can't even see over the shoulder of that bubble. So he couldn't see the glass getting hotter. You know, people wonder, how do you know? Are there thermometers inside that furnace? How does George know when it's time to go back and start shaking the glass? Well, again, even the glow of the glass, it's not reliable depending on whether we're here in the evening or a bright sunny afternoon. Depending on which color we melt into the surface of the glass, this orange and pink with the blue and yellow stripes is going to look a lot different than something that's maybe white and green. So the color isn't a reliable variable either. So we use the movement of the glass. So we've got a good view in our cameras that we can see maybe when that glass starts to wiggle a little bit. We might see it start to fall with gravity. But George, he can't see that. He can't see over the shoulder, but he can feel it. As that glass starts to get hotter, he feels the weight shifting. It feels like a little bit of drag as he's turning. But it takes a lot of experience as a glass blower to have that level of understanding of the material. So to feel the weight shifting, to know how soft you can let it get and still handle it, and to always get your timing just right. If you're in the studio with beginners, a common thing that you'll hear the instructor saying over and over is, go get it hotter, go get it hotter. Because a beginner, you know, first of all, they're standing in front of the 2,000 degree furnace and they're uncomfortable, they're whips about it, right? They don't like it, so they want to be there as little as possible. But then the second they feel a little weight shift in the glass, they panic. You know, they can't handle the glass, they don't have great control of dexterity, so they run back to the bench. By the time they sit down, the glass is totally solid again. So, go get it hotter, is what you'll hear the instructor say. All right, now we're starting to make the nice little opening of our vase that George wants. And so, I mentioned earlier, you know, we don't wear a lot of protective clothing, but we are definitely protecting George in this instant. Julia's job right now is to deflect heat away from him. So she's just holding the wooden boards between George's skin than the piece of glass. George also, wanted to dress up for you guys, and he has what I call the Big Bird sleeve on, right? It's a big yellow sleeve. But that's, again, just to add an extra layer of protection. He still needs them to have the grips of his fingers on the pipe. But the most common burn that a lot of glass blowers will get, not from touching hot glass, not from touching hot tools, but blistering on this part of your arm just from prolonged exposure to hot glass. This is the hand that holds your tools that's so close to the material.
Watch this again. Yes. Huh?
All right, so they're really cinching down that little constriction. Again, he's using the jacks. First, he put them inside the vessel and contoured it from the inside. Then he squeezed down on the outside. Looks like we're gonna go for that move again. So that cone with the straw attached was just compressed air gun. So you can cool and stabilize with a lot of precision using that tool. It looks like he's drawing out a little bit of a neck. As he is cinching that down, he's pulling away from the vessel. Can you see how that's elongating that small section? And that's where probably the compressed air was really helpful right now, because that whole shoulder of the vase was exposed to the heat of the furnace. George hadn't cooled it right there. When he did this stretch move, the whole shoulder probably would have done something like this instead of staying nice and round. But he cooled the shoulder, it's stabilized, stayed in place, and then just that little skinny neck was what stretched. All right, now where they initially cinched it down, you see how it's kind of uneven, it's got that little wrinkle in it? Well, George doesn't like that. We're going to remove that section of the glass. So we're going to use some thermal shock. George is running a cold, wet file along that line, dripping a little water right in that spot with a lot of precision. And so that glass is going to want to crack wherever it's the coldest, also wherever that diameter is the smallest. So if he hugs that cold line in the glass with his metal tools, then little tap, perfect crack. The crowd again goes wild. That is the type of glass breaking we want to see. The precise kind, the intentional kind. And it was sharp where it broke. That is an edge that would not only cut you, it would burn you. But George fire polished it just by having that little torch on the top. Did you see how it immediately started to glow orange? That was all it took to soften it. So now it's no trace that it's broken glass. It's just going to be a really crisp, clean line. All right, so we'll see here, now that he has kind of a really elegant thin lip to work with, what final contour he wants to give us. Now, I love the design that we're looking at here. I think it's absolutely beautiful, but I'm really excited to see what it looks like tomorrow when we see it at room temperature. It should be bright yellow stripes, bright blue stripes over the body of the vase, which will be like my shoes. So I feel like I need some yellow and blue shoelaces tomorrow to celebrate. Julia, she's working pretty hard, doing a lot of deflecting of the heat, and then also opening up those great big barn doors on our reheating furnace. The more we have to open up those doors, the more likely it is that the furnace is getting a little colder. We use natural gas and forced air to get a big, roaring, fluffy flame in there. These are excellent furnaces, they do pretty well, but it still might be getting a little bit cold. So we'll probably see George and Dave pay some extra attention to the bottom of the vase, making sure that it goes deep inside that furnace and stays hot enough. We might also even use the torch on the very bottom to make sure that it doesn't get too much colder than the top. Alright, so it looks like George is kind of working in a series here where he's making a top of the vase that's similar to the one that we see here, that kind of little butt spout or neck. Now, I keep using the words vase and vase interchangeably. I also do the job on the cruise ship. I meet Australians and British people, and some people say vase and some people say vase. But here in Hornet, do you guys know the difference between a vase and a vase? About $1,000. So I think this is definitely a vase. What are we doing now, George? Okay, so he's going to trim the lip just a little bit. It's not the precise angle that he wants, and so he's actually going to trim it with a pair of shears. That's a very tricky move. Nicely done. The glass is good and hot. It feels soft and spongy, a little bit like you're cutting through an orange peel, but it's not an easy thing to do. Anytime I go to cut glass, I think to myself, I kind of give myself a pep talk, and I think, Megan, you've got to be swift and confident when you go for this trim. Because if you trim too slowly, the shears themselves, they're steel. They're sucking heat out of the material. So it'll go from feeling nice and soft and spongy to hard and crunchy and impossible, just like that. And so I always think I've got to be quick, otherwise you're not going to be able to trim all the way around the circumference that you intended to. So another reason you want to be swift when you cut the hot glass is because it's one of our littlest tools, even though the shears look pretty big. Your hand is about this far away from the 2,000 degree glass, and so it's a time when your hand really cooks. So I didn't pay close attention to George, but I'm willing to bet that right before he picked up the shears, he dipped his hand in a bucket of water, just a little water glove to buy him a couple of extra seconds of comfort. So he likes to do that. So George, going for style points always when you use that big fluffy torch, but also making sure that the blades of his jacks are good and hot. Again, he wants to be able to do quite a bit of shaping without freezing up the glass too much. Did you guys see that flame ignite? Yeah. So that's the beeswax. The beeswax lubricant from the tool igniting. I've had people ask me, at what point does that steel catch on fire? It doesn't. It's the beeswax. Good question so far. You guys have been making good faces at me. I think you're interested in what I'm talking about. Feeling good? Learning everything you wanted to today? Good question. She says, if the glass were to break, do we just run away? Well, it depends on how it breaks. I mean, normally the glass isn't going to just explode. It's more likely that a crack would form. Depending on whether the crack is at the top or the bottom of the piece, you can all kind of sit back and look at it and decide, is this something that we can we do a design change and salvage it? Can we heat it and fuse it back together? If you have to fuse something back together, it's going to have a scar. You're not going to be able to erase the fact that there was broken glass there. But we can usually still make a good show about it. If I'm in production mode, though, if I'm working on a commission where I have a specific shape in mind, or if I, just know that I've got to follow a blueprint, I'll usually just leave it. I'll forget it. I'll, throw that piece of glass away and start fresh. It's more efficient to do that than to try and correct something once a catastrophic event occurs. But that glass, because it's close to the threshold, it's really unlikely that it's just going to totally shatter on you. It's more likely that it's going to break apart in pieces. I mentioned earlier that sometimes when you do the puntee transfer, it breaks free from the pipe and also from the puntee and it drops on the floor. Depending on the scale of the piece of glass and how thick the walls are, sometimes it bounces. If it's above 900 degrees and it doesn't, hit the corner of the floor wrong, it can stay intact. In that situation, you might see an assistant go running and pick up a new puntee and, stick it up on the floor and try and immediately get it into the reheating furnace. Sometimes it works and often it doesn't, but that's another option. Good question, though. How many glassmaking programs are there in the country? As far as degree programs, yeah, so most glassblowers in my generation learn in college through higher education. And in North America, I think right now there are 44 or 45 programs where you can take classes toward a degree in fine arts in glassblowing. George, though, he learned in a factory job. He had a manufacturing position, and so his was more of a trade or apprenticeship program. Same with Dane. He worked for Stu Bennett Glass It's a glass-making factory that used to be right here in Corning. But now we're seeing that most of those manufacturing jobs aren't around in the U.S. anymore. So some people feel sad about that, but as a glass blower, I feel pretty happy that I'm not making beer bottles, I'm not making light bulbs, I'm not making the same vase 400 times. When I approach glass making, I approach it as an artist, and I think that's a really great way to go to work. And also, for me, glass coming out of the factories, when it's not a trade that's passed down father to son, when it's not a factory job, the girls get to play too. So this is a pretty awesome demonstration. We get to see 2 women participating and equal representation with men. So we're good with that. All right. So we've just been finessing the top of that vase. Another neat thing happened is that we inflated it a little bit more. Did you guys catch that? Did you see them do that? They put the compressed air gun right inside the opening, blew a little bit of air in, and it just helped round out that shoulder really nicely. Yeah, good question. If we were making something out of colored glass and it were to shatter, could we reuse that glass? Well, we're not going to remelt it in our furnace here because we want pristine, clear glass to use. So, if we were throwing all of our mistakes in there, by the end of a couple of days, it would all be a brown swirl. And so, if it is colorful, it'll still get recycled, but not by us. It's going to be recycled the way your beer and wine bottles are. It'll become an aggregate in asphalt or concrete, something like that. But any of our clear glass mistakes, absolutely. We will chuck those back into the furnace, and by the next morning, they'll be liquid again. So, I know a lot of beginning glass students, the first couple semesters, they might not get to use color whatsoever. But, they're not making anything worthy of the expense of adding color. They call that glass the mom glass, the glass that you make your first few semesters of glass blowing because only your mom is going to love and collect it and display it. What's your question? Yeah, well, how many people does it take to make a large piece of glass? Well, this one's pretty big, and we've got 3 people, which I'm impressed with. I think that it helps to have glass blowers as talented as Dane and as George and as Julia. Now, I know a glass artist named Dale Cicculi. Is anyone familiar with Dale Cicculi's work? He made that beautiful tower in our admissions lobby with all the yellow tentacles on it. Well, he has a lead gaffer who works for him. It was kind of the George role on his team called Jim Montgrain. And I've heard of them having a team of 16 people all working together to make pieces of glass. And so in that situation, you might have a team that's responsible for adding color, teams responsible for lifting and moving and all kinds of things. But yeah, the bigger and more complicated the piece of glass, if it's multiple components being brought together, you might have people on multiple benches. But there are glass blowers who choose to work by themselves. I think that if you're working alone, you're really limited in terms of the scale and the complexity that you can bring to your work. But it can definitely be done. But I think, the teamwork aspect is my favorite part of the material. In college, I was a glass major, I was a painting major, but I was never the painter to go alone into the wilderness and paint landscapes. I painted people, and I painted them for life right there in the studio. So I was talking at them the whole time I was making art. When I discovered glass blowing and realized how collaborative it was and that I would get to work with other artists, I really quickly fell in love. All right, so we've got some movement happening up here. Dane has put on his favorite outfit over there. He has got a great big jacket on. He has a face shield. He has Kevlar mittens because he is the lucky guy who gets to catch this great big vase and very carefully load it into the annealing oven. If he didn't have all this protective clothing, he'd probably grab onto it and throw it as quick as he could. But he's got his outfit on. And so, one more time, we do have to break the glass. It's going to be a precarious moment. You have to break it precisely where you want to and nowhere else. We're going to add thermal shock or cold temperature right at that connection point and nowhere else. Dane is even ready if it breaks before they expect it to catch it. Perfect release. Nicely done. So into the oven it goes. We're going to get to see that again tomorrow. But let's have a huge round of applause for your gaffer, George Henry. Awesome job, Julia and Dane on the assist. That was really awesome to see. So we have had a really fun day here at the museum, and I think you guys are pretty excited, right? You've been having a good time. You guys love the show. All right, well, George, I think he had fun too, and I think he's feeling pretty generous, yeah? So George is actually going to give away this beautiful feathered vase right here in front of me. No, I said vase, not a vase, right? And so, let's see, I think he's pretty tired, but he's still got enough strength in his arms that he could probably lift up that great big vase, throw it backward over his shoulder like a bride on her wedding day out into the crowd, and then whoever catches it gets to take it home. Are you ready to play? Yeah, really actually into it. All right, well, I think we'll go with the less lawsuit-inducing strategy and employ the use of our lucky light. This is the spotlight. It's going to shine down from the ceiling, and it's going to look around the crowd for someone excited, someone who really wants to take home this beautiful vase.
Get excited!
All over the screen TVs. So you can get lucky to fix your hair, do that. If it's lucky to mess up your hair, you can do that. You want to make George feel like Bob Barker and Oprah.
Get excited! Get excited!
Who's it going to be? And we have our winner. That's you, right here in front. Congratulations. So George's going to hand you that great big piece of glass. You can head to the glass market if you want a little bit of help with some bubble wrap for that. But congratulations. George said that was so much fun he wants to play one more time. Does anyone else want to take part? Beautiful bowl. Right here in the black shirt. Okay, here we go. You got the exciting part with the glass boy. Oh, and we have our winner. All right, congratulations, Sarah. Oh my goodness. So come on down, be very careful on the steps. You get to take home that beautiful bowl. All right. So for everyone else, I'd love to say thank you for joining us at The Late Show. We hope you had about half as much fun as I did. But whatever you do with the rest of your evening,